Moving forward, I'd like to invite to the floor our next speaker for today's event, Ihor Kendiukhov. Ihor is based in Berlin and has a background in quant finance, AI, and deep tech. Ihor leads the big data and algorithmic analytics department of Deep Knowledge Group and Deep Pharma Intelligence. His educational background is in economics and biochemistry. He has experience as well in venture capital with a focus on companies active in the spaces of AI, biotech, longevity, IT, and fintech. Ihor is also the author of a number of scientific papers within the domains of biomarkers of aging and longevity, as well as finance and macroeconomics. Ihor, it's a pleasure to have you with us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Franco, for this comprehensive introduction. I hope we will have productive and insightful talks today. And the topic of my talk is advanced data-driven analytics of AI in pharma market. Basically, as Dmitry has already pointed out very clearly, the market is on the rise and the growth is just enormous, and it's measured by dozens or even hundreds of percent annually. And we have the flood of new companies, deals, and generally data. And in order to deal with this data, and in order to be prepared for the next market events, in order to be prepared for the upcoming even more extensive industry expansion, we have developed our big data analytics dashboards. And first and foremost, Deep Pharma Intelligence Big Data Analytics Dashboard, which you encourage to visit, and which features almost all entities in the industry, namely more than 280 companies, more than 700 investors, and more than 100 deals. It includes landscape overviews, industry reports, both open access and proprietary. And it also includes industry database with various features where our big data analytics tools and artificial intelligence is applied. And as the extension and enhancement of this project, we have developed longevity investment big data analytics dashboard as well, which covers almost 20,000 companies in the longevity industry, starting from biotech R&D and biomedical R&D, and going to fintech, longevity, fintech, all those tech companies. It also includes industry database, landscape overview, mind maps, interactive network diagrams, and competitor matching tools. And basically, the abundance of data here allows us to apply various machine learning and big data analytics tool very intensively. And you can see here very fast and very enormous jump in the quantity or in the amount of the data and in the amount of the entities we have. And it allows us to implement deep neural networks, reinforcement learning, and so on. And for example, as you observe in the case of AI in pharma, we have kind of dozens of thousands of data points, whereas for the longevity, we have millions of data points. And so the growth is by an order of magnitude or even more. And the tools that we have developed for the AI in pharma, they have proven to be even more applicable for the longevity industry because there is much more data to extract value from. And basically, the most advanced and the most developed aspect of this, or the most advanced feature of these dashboards by now is multi-parametric assessment analysis or SWOT analysis system for the evaluation and due diligence of the companies and investors in the AI and pharma industry. It is a tool that allows us to conduct deep SWOT analysis of the startups in the industry instantly, automatically, and holistically. And basically, it is presented in a tangible, quantifiable way, where each vector of this business development actually is a set of parameters with appropriate weights and mathematical transformations. Actually, it's mathematical equations which, based on the data we aggregate, represent various aspects of business development of the company, and which demonstrate quantifiably what are the strengths or the weaknesses of each company, and what are the areas for improvement, and what do the competitors have that this company does not. And speaking about competitor analysis, and speaking about comparison of various of different entities in the industry, a very novel feature which was implemented in the previous days, it's comparative SWOT analysis of different companies in the industry, which I can demonstrate to you in real time. So by this link, you can go to our website and explore it, and it's also, the link is also in the presentation, so you can observe it. So basically, what we have implemented is a reflection, demonstration of each of SWOT analysis of different companies in the same window, where you can, for example, see a comparison of 3 companies, and you can switch between them, reflecting various companies. And basically, in real-time mode, you can see what are the relative advantages or vice versa disadvantages of each company, and what is the place of each company in the context of its competitors. And just as in the case of the AI and pharma deals analysis, we have also open access analytics for the evaluation of the whole startups or in this industry and of their business development aspects. And we have put our first layer of analytics open access. So we actually developed new iterations of the projects on a monthly basis, and we have this abundance of data and enhancements which occur very, very fast. And this allows us to put previous models online without any proprietary restrictions. And here you can see the visualization of these algorithms evaluating AI and pharma startups as an example, but the same we have for longevity startups and also for longevity financial industry. Basically, I will not stop here for a long time, and you do not need to dive into it in very deeply, but the point is here that every color and every length of the borders reflects various aspects of our algorithms, and they are understandable and can be applicable by humans, and it's not a black box thing. And we what we apply here, it's only tiny point of the algorithms we developed, and it is basically the first layer of 3 layers of analytics what we have now. But we are going to disclose our next projects and next level algorithms as well as soon as we develop new ones. And another tool that is applied in our big data analytics dashboards is smart competitor matching, so-called. It's basically the calculation of the distance between companies, which allows us to conduct AI-driven automatized multi-parametric companies clusterization. And in order to do this, we apply both conventional and traditional algorithms such as k-means and much more advanced tools such as various types of unsupervised machine learning. And by doing so, we are able to find the closest competitors of each company. We are able to find similar companies to invest in, or we can find similar companies to have collaborations with or to deal with, basically. And another tool allows us to define a company or investor in the context of the existing industry infrastructure. And this tool is interactive network diagrams, which analyze funding rounds, collaborations, team networks, and various aspects of business development in order to see what are the connections of each business entity, let's say company or investor in the industry, and what are his collaborators, what are the companies that are close in terms of their markets and so on. And it allows us to estimate what can happen with the company in the future. It means what investors can be attracted, what deals can be entered into, and so on. And basically, almost all our types of the technologies of AI and machine learning technologies we apply for this analysis are listed here. And, they include, they can be divided in such categories such as technologies for SWOT analysis, for data aggregation, for forecasting and clusterization, and competitor analysis. And in terms of SWOT analysis, we use more or less conventional tools such as polynomial formulas, just simple mathematical transformations, whereas for forecasting and clusterization, deep neural networks and with various, sometimes very exotic architectures are applied, and it allows us to increase the efficiency of the analysis of big data sets very essentially. And another aspect of the development of the industry is that companies go public, and this was also outlined by Dmitry, that yeah, we have really boom of publicly traded AI and pharma companies, especially in 2020, and this motivates us to go not just in due diligence of the startups, but also to conduct deep financial analysis, stock market analysis of the companies in the industry. And in order to do so, we apply both conventional econometric models and advanced artificial intelligence and deep learning tools. And we also have constructed AI and Pharma stock index, which is by now proprietary, and where we optimize our portfolio and calculate its statistical parameters in order to estimate possible paths of its development. And we apply stock market simulations, both conventional, like Wiener process, and fat tail distributions as well. And to summarize, these dashboards present the following, they possess the following services for companies and for investors. And these services include, first and foremost, deep SWOT analysis, both for investors and for companies, and also for AI and pharma corporations, where a pretty large set of financial parameters is included. And also they relate to benchmarking and ranking of the companies and publicly traded corporations. Whereas for investors, it may be relevant to apply it for investment targets selection and for the analysis of competitor strategies. yeah, with that, I would like to close my presentation and thank you for your attention. I'm glad to open your questions now.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Ihor, for that insightful presentation. Quite technical, quite interesting. It's clear that the AI in pharma market generally is fairly dynamic, and I would assume that the stock returns, in particular in this space, would be even more volatile than other more conventional tech-based sectors, for example. Is that indeed the case? And if so, how do you actually account for that from an analytics standpoint?
Yeah, actually, it's much more volatile, but it's not a surprise since more returns mean more volatility, more risk. So there's trade-off between risk and return. It's a conventional wisdom, but what we really have in the industry here is that both volatility and the presence of rare events, both negative and positive, play very huge role. So we cannot just analyze it using conventional econometric tools such as Gaussian econometrics, and we are constantly developing tools to deal with this uncertainty and apply fat-tailed models, for example, to deal with that. And but what I would it sounds a little bit pessimistic, but the opposite side, quite optimistic in this case, is about the presence of, I would say, anti-black swans in the industry. So basically, when we have common markets like S&P index and so on, sometimes rare, bad, really very bad, rare events happen, and they happen more often than theory predicts. But in the case of AI and pharma market and generally deep tech markets, we have the opposite trend when there is presence of rare but positive events, when something unexpectedly good happens, and this is first and foremost connected with R&D process, some like new scientific discovery or new clinical approval and so on. And this is a kind of evidence we try to take into account as much as possible.
Yes, well, your comments about fat-tailed non-Gaussian distributions, et cetera, that dovetails quite nicely into my second question, which was, why is deep learning in particular, as opposed to machine learning, necessitated by this space? Does it have indeed a lot to do with that volatility and the presence of unexpected events like white and black swans, et cetera?
Yeah, so basically but we just applied deep learning when we could have applied linear regressions or more simple, more conventional machine learning tools or just econometric tools. Is that the more data we have, the more is the value of deep learning. And when we started the project, kind of when we didn't have such enormous opportunities and capacities of data aggregation, and we had some 10,000 data points and so on, there was no difference between deep neural networks and between just regressions. But as our data sets increased and as now we have millions of data points for longevity, there is a huge difference between the application of simple regression models and deep neural networks, because the quality of regression models just stops growing after some data volume threshold. And for deep learning, it's not the case. At least we haven't reached this, and the models are continuing to be improved, and I hope it will be so. There's no reasons to forecast the opposite.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much, Ihor, for both answering my questions and for that insightful deep dive into the AI backend of deep pharma intelligence analytics. That was quite insightful.